G'day everyone, Goober here with another Torchlight Infinite Outlaw Season video. In this video I'll be going over my accumulated tips to help you in your gameplay, on your league start and throughout the season. First up, let's go over some keybinds that will help you along the way. So as we go down the list, we have move towards cursor. This is defaulted to left click. If you're not using a channeled ability, then you can always set this to W or something, so you can just move your mouse around and rest your left hand on, say, W, and the game will move towards your cursor. W is pretty good because it's right next to another extremely useful keybind on the computer. You have an auto pickup button here, so by default it is set to A, I believe. I don't think I changed that at all. So as you run around a map, you can just hold down A and it will auto loot everything that is showing. If you have a good drop filter, then you don't really have to worry, and you can just pick up everything that way. You don't actually need to get the auto loot option from the seasonal pass. Other key bindings that you can modify to better improve your gameplay are the Town Portal, Void Sea Terminal, Dark Surge, and most importantly, or not most importantly, but extremely useful, is the Frozen Canvas map. This isn't on by default. I just have it set to M, so if I'm doing the Frozen Canvas gameplay, you just hit M, and if you're familiar with the map, you can teleport around to the other portals that you've already cleared to easily maneuver that area. Going down, another one that is extremely useful is the Trade House. This is off by default, so you can only access the Trade House from town. However, if you are in a map and you have that keybind set, I'll just quickly load a map. As we can see in the map, there is no trade house here, so if you have something drop, you would need to go back to town to list it on the trade house, or if you needed to buy something for whatever reason, you would have to go back to town. However, if you have it hotkeyed, you can access the trade house wherever you want, and you can list the lucky drop as fast as possible if you price check it, and whatnot like that. So you can also just list from here, you know, as you're going through the maps. As we continue to go down the list, you can set the season pass and stuff to other things if you like. However, I pretty much only ever select them in town anyway. Going down, another really good one to free-to-play players is the Packed Spirit plans. These aren't set to anything by default, and if you have the season pass, you can auto switch your packed plans based on whatever settings you have, whatever content you're doing. However, if you don't have that option, you can set them to keybinds, and I have them set through 1 through 9. Sometimes there might be a situation where I don't want what is automatically set, so I manually switch them myself. If you would like to see your pack spirits on the screen, there is a handy little menu here. This is also not on by default. You would have to go to the pack spirit page, go down to the bottom left here to the cog, and turn on the main screen display. If you don't have that toggled on, that screen on the main, like this toggle here, will not appear. This can be shown on mobile phone as well. I'm just not entirely sure where that option is. Back to control settings, I feel like that is the last one in this area. Close all screens, you can change that from space, or deactivate that so you don't accidentally close your mini-map and everything included. I run around with my mini-map open. If I press space, it closes every menu and the mini-map as well. Can be kind of annoying if you don't want to do that. Next up, we have some graphics settings. If you have some skills that are extremely obnoxious, so character skill effect transparency, if we have that set to max, I can no longer see the ground, and that can be problematic if there is a lot of damage on the ground and you can barely see the enemies. So if we go into the graphics settings, and just set that down a bit. If you still want to see a little bit of your ability, you can just set it down so you can see through your abilities and still see the damage and stuff on the ground. That works for enemy abilities as well, I believe. So character skill effect, brightness, monster skill effect, transparency. I have that maximum because I want to see where the damage is. And yeah. Next up, we have the seasonal effects. Some seasonal effects are quite obnoxious, and if there is one for the next season where it modifies the main screen, that in graphics is where you would turn that off. So just be aware of that. That's just down the bottom here with this. Next up, we have the screen settings. The default inventory style is style 1, which if you go into your backpack, this is the screen that you will be greeted with. And this is the default view that everyone gets when they start playing the game. If you want a bit of an updated UI, you just go into screen settings and choose style number 2. Now you've got two options here. You can pause the game or not pause the game with the inventory open. That means that you can open it. It may be helpful if you are doing a lot of bossing and you want to check your drops in between immunity phases. I find it very helpful to not pause the game. But generally in a map, I would want to pause the game if I have to go into my inventory for whatever reason. So by default, I have that paused at all times. Another really good one is the overall screen scaling. That's about here by default. And as you saw, my entire menu got bigger and smaller. It's basically the zoom, which is extremely helpful for the trade house. If we are searching for items such as flame sand, you'll notice that there is only 6 across by 3, and you have to go through 78 million pages. However, if you go to the overall screen scaling here and zoom out, you'll fit far more stuff on your on your search. So there we go. Instead of 6 by 3, now we have, 8 by 4. So you're fitting on much more on the screen. We've already gone over skill transparency, so let's now just go over the price check in the trade house. So trade house tips now. So we can go through and price check the sacred fossils. They are ranging by, up to 13 is where the bulk listings start. So if we go search, everything's a bit of a mess here, and you can go down to the price filter down the bottom here. Now we saw that the bulk listing unit price was 13, so we can do that, and it sorts it by unit price of 13. Now in this case, you probably don't want to buy 50 of these at a time, so you can further reduce it and go the total price here. Let's say we wanted to only spend, say, a maximum of 200 flame elementium. We can do that. Now it's hiding the stack that we can't afford, and we can go through and search for a result that is within our total price range and also the unit price range. So there we go. We've got 12. That's 154, so we can afford to buy it. Rather than seeing everything, even the stuff that you can't afford, you can combine those two searches to have an easier time of finding what you need. Next season, with the changes to the pedigree of the gods, we know that the current pedigree, the way it works is you can only have one major and one minor ability. In the upcoming season, there is no major and there is no minor abilities. They are all sharing the same pool. So technically, you can get 2, air quotes, major abilities on your pedigree of the gods. How do you search for that? You may Come into here and go to Advanced. Trade House, this tab here is just a general search. So if you want to refine your search, you need to go to Advanced, go down to the Legendary Slates and go to the item base here. Then you would go down to Pedigree of the Gods and go back to the search criteria. Once you're in the search criteria tab, if you only want to search for a couple of specific things, you can search through the options here and just add them and search there. However, if you have a range of abilities that you would like on your pedigree, maybe you're in your stash here and you could use Instant Smash or Endless Favor. So you could search for Instant Smash on the pedigree. So you would go here and just type in Instant Smash. However, if you want multiple, then you have to go into the additional group here. Type in Instant Smash and add that. Up the top line here is the amount of search results you want from this conditional group. On a pedigree, the maximum is 2 and the minimum is also 2. So you don't really have to set a maximum because it's not going to show you any more than 2 anyway for main abilities. This search probably won't work. Well, I doubt it will work in this season because these two abilities probably share a oh no, they don't share. I guess one's a major and one's a minor. In the next season you'll get more results, and if you have a third option there, what's another option? Remember to go into the cog of your conditional group to add the extra options. So off the beaten track, this will be in the Lich area of the next season. You hit confirm and now you hit search. Now there's two options here, one with source and off the beaten track, and the other one is source and instant smash. So that is a quick overview of how you limit the options here. Maybe if we, almost did it there again. Just remember to go into the cog of the conditional group and you can put in, say, Mighty Guard. And just hit confirm and search again. And now we've got another combination of those two. Source Instant Smash, Source Off the Beaten Track, and Source Mighty Guard. This will be extremely useful in the upcoming season. You just need to know which of the other majors that you want, as I believe Pedigree of the Gods will be extremely powerful in the upcoming season. Whilst we're on the topic of Trade House, before I close it, if you have stuff listed and you don't want to individually go through and refresh the timer, just use the refresh duration down the bottom and that will instantly refresh everything that you have up for sale. Next up, we have the biggest waste of Jagged Primos that you can possibly have. If you are respecking your build, you can go in here and reset or reselect. Resetting will use 32 Oblivion points. If you don't have Oblivion points available, the game will ask you to use Jagged Primos. This is extremely wasteful, and FE is much cheaper to get than Jagged Primos. So what you want to do is you just go to the trade house, search for Elixir of Oblivion, and buy some that are within your budget using the price filter restrictions from before. Then all you need to do is go into your inventory, go to commodities, and you can right click the Elixir of Oblivion. You do get a bunch of bound as well as unbound ones that you can just use. If you have a stack of items, you can just right click to use that stack. You don't have to go in, hit max, and go use that way. It's just a little bit quicker, and you can always go over the max if you are doing it that way as well. It works for all stackable commodities that have a mass use. As we can see, the Whispering Mist gameplay icon, screen effect has updated because I used the Whispering Mist item there. If we don't like that screen setting, again, we can go into graphics, go down to the seasonal effect and turn off Whispering Mist, and then we're back to a normal display. So that's that for the respec. Next up, we have resetting skills for your alts. If you have leveled up a character to maps, you'll now have access to all of these skills in the game. So when you want to level an alt, let's say I'm starting a Howling Gale Selena, I can just go here and buy the skill. Then all you need to do is go into your inventory, go into skills and reset the skill level here. Otherwise, this skill needs a level of 65. If you are leveling an alt, you can just reset the skill there, and now you can use Howling Gale at level 1 on whatever character you want, mainly Selena. Alright, next up we have a bit of a different one. This will be relevant for the campaign. If you're wondering how people get through the campaign so fast, there is a mechanic called treasure troves. These will be a yellow portal as you're running through the campaign, and these have increased monster density and extra XP. So basically the way that I personally do the campaign is I clear to the first treasure trove, and then I run the treasure trove until the experience on the map goes down. So this isn't obviously going to give me anything. However, if you open up the map here, on the top right you can see map base XP gain. When this goes from 100 down to 95, that would be the last one that I run. And then I would basically just run through the entire campaign using Blink or Leap Attack or, you know, Shadow Strike or something. And then I would just run to the next treasure trove. You definitely should be doing these at least once, because your first clear will give you a skill point. So if you need to do it again, you just do challenge again. Otherwise, you just leave the treasure trove and continue on with your campaign. As you saw on the map here, if we go to the treasure trove, first clear reward up here is a skill point or a talent point. Another thing that you can do to help out your campaign is you go through the drop filter here. If you just want an easy one, you can just create a new one using a default filter. So you go create from a template, and then you just choose one of the templates here. Let's go with Junior Official. And the way that the templates work, well, Ruby's calling, be right back. Then just find the one that you actually just created on your character. Then you can go edit. Now the way that the loot filter works is it reads from the bottom to the top. So all this is on by default, and then if you want to add extra stuff to the top, you can highlight or hide everything that you want. So you just want to go to create, and then you choose your drop style. If you want it to be obvious in the campaign, just go to drop name up the top. If you want to hide everything, this is the toggle that you would do, and it will hide everything in this section. However, don't want to do that. We just want to go to the filter section, and then we want to modify the conditions of the filter. So if we are running through the campaign, I would strongly suggest you get some random affixes. Now this is, the drop has B affixes of A that have a total tier of C. The tier doesn't really matter early on. You just want the affixes that you want. So what I would normally do is I would go into defense and I would get some life regen. So life regen allows you to just blitz through the entire campaign as fast as possible. Yes, Leo?
I just want to do a second good night.
Okay, good night. Alright, night. Love you.
Because
Alright, good night.
bye.
So now that we've got regen life per second, you can add max life there as well, and maybe some extra regen while moving and stuff like that. That just means that you don't really ever have to click on the potion, and you can assign that to a damaging ability or another movement skill, and that just allows you to blitz through the campaign a lot faster. If you want a minimum of one of those. Once you have that on a lot of your gear, you can always change this to 2, and that will search for a double life regen or max life item, and just hit confirm. If you want to then add an extra one on top of that, you can just add a secondary filter, and let's say you want some, let's say you're on Erica 2 and you are doing lightning skill. You just go random affix, go to attack, you go to elemental, and you just want lightning damage to attacks and skills. You could go to other, get some cast speed and stuff like that, or down here go to other skill level, go main skill level, lightning skill level. There's a spell skill level here somewhere as well. If you want blessings, intelligence is really good as a multiplier, or dex or strength. Just hit confirm. Make sure you select at least one. Again, as you can progress, you would change that to 2. Hit confirm. And then after you exit out of this, make sure you select the filter and hit apply. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So that's that. There, I will make another guide on how to build your own filter at the end. Well, not at the end of this video, but another video later on. The way that I like to do it is I hide everything and then I just highlight what I want to see. Anyway, that is the loot filter, the respec, and the reset of the skills. Next up, I'll go through what I like to focus on early in the end game, I guess, when you get to T5, T6, and T7. But before that, I just want to take this opportunity to mention my community event. So this season, I am holding a Race Goober to 100 event. So at the start of this season, I'll be hosting an event which will be will probably run for about a week. And then whoever is a qualified winner will go into a draw, and there'll be an overarching draw for everyone that applies. The link to the form will be in the description below, and you can apply through there. Basically, once I hit level 100, the event will stop. However, I do have kids sport on Sunday. I've also got some other stuff on Saturday, and I work full time as well. So the chances of me hitting 100 in the first week is extremely slim, considering I've only hit level 100 once in every season that I have played. This is the Google form that is to apply for the event. There has been a mouthful of responses so far. I will highlight this section here, which is your Torchlight Infinite account ID number. This needs to be the ID number starting with 4. In game, to get this, you have to go to, where's my mouse? You just go escape, go to account center. This is the ID number I need. This is how you'll get your prize if you win. If you're putting in a 7 number, if it starts with a 7, it's probably your character ID number, not your account number. This will not get you paid if you win. And because I'm not getting your email address or account ID, if you're one of these winners, unfortunately, I'll probably have to push the prize onto another person because I'll have no way of contacting you. So I apologize if you have done that. There has been a couple of entrants that have done that. So just keep that in mind when you are applying. So there will be one prize draw for the main one here, which is just anyone who enters. And then there is 5 qualified winners, which will go into a draw separate to everyone else. Each winner will get 1 battle pass and 5,000 primos to spend however you want. How do you become a qualified participant? Basically, you need some entry tickets. You can get entry tickets once for the Trade League, once for the SSF League, and once for Hardcore Solo Self-Found. If you get level 100 before the end of the week, make sure you message me on Discord and tell me what your account ID number is. And show me a screenshot of the character selection screen that shows your level and you're in Outlaw season. Again, level 100 in SSF gets you 2 tickets, and level 95 or above in Hardcore Solo Self-Found gets you 3 tickets. If you do 3 characters to 100, 195, then you'll have a total of 6 tickets into the qualified winners draw. Enough on that, back to the tips. Often people struggle with getting currency early on in the season. Now there is more mechanics to do rather than just doing maps. So maps are one of the main sources of income, which is just running maps, getting stuff that drops. However, what are the drops that people really want? On the map here, we have a few different NPCs around the place. Here we have Patty, who is the Dream Interpretation NPC. If you want to craft Dream Interpretation onto your gear, you need some items. So let's just look at this one. This uses Shallow Dream Talking Trinkets. If you want to farm that and add that to your map, you just add Dream to your map, and then you farm up those items. These trinket ones often go for a lot of currency, 10, 20 flame elementium each, and not many people farm them early on in the season, so that could be a very lucrative one. Another item that people need are the Eternal Reverberations. If fleeting or eternal, I believe the levels of these are increasing next season. However, they'll still be needed to do that sort of gameplay, so you could add a turner to your maps and get that currency in your as you're doing the campaign. Oh, not the campaign, as you're doing T7 maps and stuff. Again, down here we have Whispering Mist, which uses those eyes that I consumed earlier on. This is another gameplay option, and people need items that drop from the maps in order to do those. Something else that is available is Path of the Brave. Unfortunately, this is just a random drop, so you can't actively farm the keys. They just drop at random, I believe. So just keep that in mind. If you have one of those drop, sometimes they are worth a lot of currency. Other things, you have corrosions. So if you want to corrode your gear, you'll need a currency for that as well. In here, if you want to corrode an legendary item, you'll need the Amberon cores. Amberon cores come from Dark Surge. So just keep in mind that these items drop, and early game farming strategies often revolve around just focusing on 1 or 2 of these mechanics. Another really good one at the start of the season is Cube, because everyone needs slates for their gear. So if you're farming Cube, you would just focus on getting all of these chances for the cube to appear in your map, and then just focus on getting an entire tree to benefit from Cube as much as possible. If you have pets, then that will increase that as well. Another really good strategy early on is just to max out the beacons tree to get extra maps to use, so you have map sustain as well as selling extra beacons to those that don't want to do this strategy. So beacons are really, really good early on. Cube is really, really good early on. So probably don't get this and then get 8 nodes in here. get this and just go ham and just get as many nodes in here as possible. You don't notice I don't have points up here because this is endgame, and you can use compasses which cost FE, which you may not have early on, to enhance that gameplay. A turner is one of my favorites, at least in the early game, until the price of the reverberations tank, and focusing on, again, if this was early on in the season, I would have all the chances and I would have all these nodes as well, and I would probably have this one too because that's an extra boss that can spawn in your map. Dream, this is the one that drops the shallow dream talkings, and they can drop up to stacks of 10 in the upcoming season, so hopefully this is more profitable as people will use them more in crafting. Snow paper is also a very good one, as the large nodes here just mean that Netherrealm stage bosses will drop one additional set of snow paper fragments. So it doesn't need to even have the chance to spawn these. This just means that all bosses in your maps will drop the snow paper fragments, which are needed for the frozen canvas. So in summary, you can always go for some key drops in here. Netherrealm Resonance, very useful throughout the entire season. The Star Shards are very useful throughout the entire season. Winding keys, very useful. So if you have some extra nodes, you can always put them in here, or just add these and forget about them, and then check your inventory. But for farming strategies, I would strongly encourage just focusing on one tree and then looking at how many of those are in your inventory after an hour or two and chucking them up on the trade house, or doing those extra mechanics yourself and seeing how profitable it is, because if it wasn't profitable, people wouldn't be buying the keys. One thing I forgot to mention with the loot filter, if you are getting someone else's loot filter off the internet and you have their loot filter code, the way that you need to apply that loot filter is go into drop filter, create from a shared code, and then paste it in here. Make sure there is no extra spaces, otherwise it will not work. If it says that it is not made public, you are entering it wrong, and you need to just go into drop filter, create from a shared code, and enter it here. If you're doing it through another menu, that will not work, and this is how you need to do it. I get this comment at least 20 times every single season, and once it is explained in a comment, people get that, and it's really quite simple. Loot filters are not region locked. They will work if you get the code. Make sure you're using one from the current season, as the loot filter changes, as the amount of drops and different drops. Items get added, items get removed, items change in value as you go through. Oh, Ruby's out of the shower. I'll be right back. Alrighty, now that the kids are asleep, let's continue on. If at the end of day 1 or 2 you are doing a few billion DPS and you can start farming bosses, the way that you do that is you come to Zac The Hunter here. He also sells beacons and stuff if you are lacking that in the mapping stage. He also sells some flame elementium here that is bound. This is going up to 1,000 next season, so you'll be able to cash in that way. He also sells revival tokens and 25 Elixir of Oblivion early on. But anyway, his main use is the Great Void. In the Great Void, you have the option of all of the bosses here. The Lawbreaker is often extremely profitable if you are good at smashing your candles together. You can go with the Lone King of Eterna. The Twi-Nightmare boss has been pretty disappointing since they gutted Enama. However, that may change in the upcoming season. The Lord of the Void Sea is often extremely expensive, but can drop some gloves that often sell for about 20 to 30,000 flame elementium. or the one that is often the most consistent and profitable is the Tide Master here. Generally, you would go with these three surges early on until you get a few 100 billion DPS, and then you would go with Edict Doom, but mainly you just want to go through the first three here. If you are farming that constantly, when you talk to what's his name? Zac The Hunter. You don't have to wait for this to pop up. So normally you would wait for that to pop up, then you would scroll to the right. A quick way is you can go to the Great Void and scroll across. You can even click on this if you get good at it and bring this up just to save a couple of seconds there and do that encounter. When you do the encounter, make sure you drop your own portal, because the portal that defaults will spit you out over the other side of the map. Then you're going to run all the way back here. That is just a little bit on bossing. And yeah, another thing that players often struggle with at the start of the season is power creep. Now, if you are just doing maps and you're not really focusing on anything else, you'll probably have some slates that are, you know, somewhat garbage. Often skill level is one of the biggest things that you can get. So if your slates are relatively garbage, you can always just go to the trade house, go to advanced, go down to the slates that you want. Let's say you're doing a minion build, you want God of Machines, and you can just chuck in spell skill, not spell skill level, let's go with minion skill level. Or just type in skill level. Ugh, did my brain leave me? So you've got minion skill levels here, and you can just search for some slates that have that on there. These prices are insanely inflated because it is the last day of the season. These will be around about 40 flame elementium early on, and you can easily just pick up, you know, 4 or 5 of those to boost your damage immensely. Another thing that people often forget after they've put in the first one here is getting better hero memories. Now, the good thing about hero memories is you can level them up, and then when you no longer need them, you can salvage them. To salvage them, just go to your inventory and recycle them this way. The benefit to the hero memories is if you level this up to level 10, so let's just quickly show that with this one. So if we just mince that one there, gives us 1 memory scrap. However, if we go into crafting these and we enhance it to level 10, every bit of the material that you have used to enhance that, when you no longer need it, when you recycle it, you get all of those materials back. So that is a really, really good way to just, as you go through, make sure you're upgrading your hero memories, because there is no real downside, because when you salvage it, you'll get the materials back, and that is another really good way to get power creep. Initially, you just want to put anything in there to get the skill levels, but eventually you'll probably want some crit strike, crit damage, skill levels to the hero traits in here. That's how you can level these up from 2 to 5. If you have a red one here, it can go +3, and then you can get +2 hero trait level on there as well. In the upcoming season, this will be another way that you can get immune to wilt and stuff like that for deep space. So just keep that in mind when you are getting some ultimate hero memories later. Another thing that is often extremely overlooked in the skill tab. On the right hand side here, you have 2 soul candles. By default, only one of these is unlocked and the other one is locked. How you unlock that is you come over to Candle here, the Heretic, and look at the Palm of Eterna. The first node down here is unlock the second soul candle slot. This costs about 20 pages, which is next to nothing. Early on in the season, they go for about 0.1 each, so that's about 2 flame elementium. and that will unlock an extra power creep for your character. You can get extra skill levels or extra skills. This one here is damage, skill, area, and movement speed for every enemy defeated recently, up to 20 times. So that can give you an extra 40% damage, 40% movement speed. That is absolutely insane for your clear speed. So you may want 2 of those, or a chance to gain a blessing on triggering a skill. So there's a lot of things that you can get in here to just enhance your power creep. Another thing that people often forget is getting the precise versions of your skills. Precise skills sometimes are very expensive if you're going for supports, such as, I don't have any on this character, but if you are going for precise restrain or something like that, let's go with restrain. So if you're getting precise restrain, that can get quite expensive versus a standard one, which you just get from the shop. You wouldn't ever buy this. But precise restrain is very expensive, but then something like precise fearless may be quite inexpensive. That's massively, that'll be about 40 flame elementium at the start of the season. If you have 40 FE, you may want to look at that as an option, because the base one gives 60 crit strike rating, 10% additional damage, whereas Fearless gives 60 crit strike, 10 additional, and 8% attack speed at level 1. Other things like the Energy Fortress give you additional max energy shield and stuff like that. Just extra little bits of power creep that you may not have thought about. But anyway, I think that's everything on my list. If you have any other suggestions that you want to help with, help other players with, please leave it in a comment below. I'll collate all of those and I'll pin that comment so everyone can check out the additional tips. That's all I've got for this one. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to Outlaw season coming out tomorrow. Cheers.